Hi, I'm Sam, Wiltshire Councillor for Carn South.
Hello, I'm Antonio. I'm the Wiltshire Councillor for Trowbridge Drynham.
Hello, my name's Dr. Katherine Allsop. I'm a Foundation Year 1 doctor working in Salisbury District Hospital, but also in conjunction with Public Health at Wiltshire Council.
Has the vaccine been released too quickly?
So the short answer is no. The vaccine has been developed with no compromise on quality, safety, or effectiveness. So we've been able to speed up the development of the vaccines thanks to multiple factors. Global urgency, hundreds of scientists, thousands of volunteers, and instant access to global funding has meant that the COVID-19 vaccines have been developed quickly and safely. So these processes would ordinarily take much longer and delay the progress of vaccine development, but being able to secure funding and take urgent action was not an issue when there was an immediate need for a safe, effective intervention to prevent deaths, hospitalizations, and life-changing complications. So the vaccines have gone through the same robust clinical trials before MHRA sign-off that all other vaccines go through. And the development of these actually highlighted how effective collaboration can be in a time of need. It's all largely thanks to decades of existing research on similar viruses such as SARS and MERS that we already had all of the technology, methods, and a library of safe and known work on these type of vaccines that was then available for us to use when creating the COVID-19 vaccinations. So despite the comparatively short time that these vaccines were developed compared to other vaccines, there's no plausible link associated with any long-term negative effects of them. But what you can be assured of is that these vaccinations are the single most effective way to reduce deaths and severe illness from COVID-19.
I'm not travelling this year anyway. Why should I have it?
So whether you're travelling or not, there is COVID in the United Kingdom. Not travelling does not mean you won't be exposed to the virus, and actually the vast majority of cases now are caused by the Delta variant, with kind of data from Public Health England puts that figure at approximately 99% of infections. And we already know that the Delta variant causes a more serious infection and increased risk of hospitalisation. Vaccination is important for yourself, but also for others. It reduces your risk of becoming seriously ill or dying. It reduces your risk of catching COVID-19, and it also provides coverage against new variants. But it will also stop you spreading the virus. So there are some people in the population who will not be able to have the COVID vaccine due to various health problems that affect their immune system. And by ensuring we can vaccinate everybody who can be vaccinated, we can help to protect the most vulnerable in society who aren't able to have those vaccines. And if we can do that, that means we can either slow or potentially even stop the transmission of the virus. And when we eventually get to that point, that then means we can move back towards a more normal way of life, which is what everybody's aiming for.
Do I need to have the vaccine if I've already had COVID?
So it's a really good question, and yes, you absolutely should. So to make it simple, your immune response is divided into innate or short-term immunity, where your immune cells are activated as a first line of defense against a pathogen, which is a disease-causing microbe, such as a virus or a bacteria. And then you have acquired immunity. So your acquired immunity is when a pathogen has broken through that first line of defense and your T and B cells are activated, and those are types of white blood cells. So your B cells will produce antibodies specific to the pathogen in question, and your T cells are divided into helper T cells, which will help the B cells produce the antibodies, and killer T cells, which will directly kill any cells that have been infected. Once the infection's all over, your T and B cells develop a memory so that they can then recognize the pathogen should it infect you again. The B cells won't just make identical antibodies though. The next time you get infected, they will make variants of the same antibody. This means that you then end up with a slightly wider coverage for protection from that pathogen or COVID, reinfecting you either with the same variant or with a different variant. So that's kind of your acquired or adaptive immunity, and that's a far more long-term form of immunity. So evidence so far is showing that getting COVID and recovering, which is what we call natural immunity, doesn't appear to be as kind of a robust protection as that generated after vaccination. But interestingly, the response generated post-infection, so your natural immunity, and then being vaccinated on top, which is what we call a hybrid immunity, is stronger than either a natural immunity or from vaccine alone. So people who have had COVID and recovered and then been vaccinated have the best coverage regarding memory B cell responses than people who've just been vaccinated. So kind of in summary, your vaccine provides an extra level of immunity compared with natural immunity alone. And it's more of a belt and braces approach to ensure that we get as much coverage against any new concerning variants as possible.
Does the vaccine make you infertile?
So this is another very, very common question and one that's being talked about a lot in the media. So the discussion of whether kind of vaccine affects fertility and if it can make you infertile is obviously a very, very sensitive topic. But fertility is an incredibly complicated area of science and medicine, and it's influenced by a whole host of different factors. That being said, so far there is absolutely zero evidence indicating any possible medical or scientific reason or mechanism behind the vaccine being able to impact your fertility in any way at all. So no, the vaccine does not make you infertile.
Why should I have the vaccine now? Why don't I wait a few years when the side effects are known?
So we need the vaccine to try to provide as much coverage as possible to stop transmission of the virus and therefore kind of help us return to life as soon as normal. That being said, we do continue to monitor the vaccine in the same way we monitor all new medications and report on any concerns and adjust as necessary. It's no different to any other medication that's released as normal. But as I mentioned earlier, while the vaccine has been released very, very quickly and it is a new vaccine, that's thanks to us making use of existing technology and research, of which we already know all of the side effects and have been monitoring for years anyway. So the corners that have been cut allowing us to get the vaccine out a lot faster are to do with waiting periods, finding funding and finding volunteers, none of which have been lacking in the COVID trials. So we've been able to release them very quickly, but we already know the side effects and are happy with the safety of the vaccines.